Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce.
What's up, Jimmy?
What is? Okay, just just interrupted me right in the middle.
I
of my
decided
intro.
to do something different there, and it clearly didn't work. Proceed. Go
It
ahead.
very much threw me off, but I guess maybe somebody will be entertained by that.
Yeah.
It is Monday, January 18th, Martin Luther King Day. What time is it, Alex?
11:19 p.m. East Coast.
East Coast. Big slate of games today. There's one game remaining that is still going on. Lakers Warriors. They are at halftime. We're going to go through all of the MLK Day games. NBA as usual. This is one of the best days of the year for basketball. There's been basketball since noon. We almost didn't have the Heat game. It got postponed from 3 to 8 for some reason. I'm still not entirely clear why. NBA also, as always, every team doing a pretty incredible job of honoring Martin Luther King, and all these teams, every local channel, national, they all have all these packages and all this stuff all throughout the day. The NBA is usually, again, one of the leagues that is at the forefront of any of these type of things, but they do it every year. Especially Memphis. Like Memphis plays every year. I was in Memphis, obviously Memphis being a very important place for the history of Martin Luther King. But they always do like a big ceremony before the game, and people go back. They have like people there and they speak, and it's usually pretty good. So, but yeah, full day of games, 9 games. This Lakers Warriors game, it will probably end during the show. But I could just say this now. I mean, whatever happens, they're up 16 right now at half. Even if the Warriors come back and win this game somehow, I can give you my takeaway from this game. And I texted you my takeaway from this game. The Lakers are dumb. I don't see a scenario where any team beats them. Like they're in the finals. Like I don't see a scenario where any team in the Western Conference could possibly beat them in a 7-game series. It just doesn't. They're so much better than last year, which is absurd to say. This is the best I think a LeBron James team has ever looked this early in a season.
That's pretty scary. When you texted me the Lakers are dumb, I was like, what are they? What's wrong? What'd they do? And then I was like, they're just dumb. They're just that good. Like, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
And I hate to always do this about the scenarios, but I mean, it really, if Anthony Davis gets hurt, that's it. That's the only way I'm not on your side.
Well, yeah, man. Like what? Of course you have. I'm saying this.
It's the great equalizer. Injuries, man.
Yeah, but you could say that about any team. You could literally say that about any of the good teams. I'm saying this, assuming Anthony Davis and LeBron James are both healthy. Like this team that I'm watching play tonight, this team that I'm watching right now, no matter what happens the rest of the season, this team I'm watching play against the Warriors right now, no team can beat them. They are so good. They're the number 1 defensive team in the league, and they're the number 4 offensive team. Like defense is where they shine, and they have the 2 best players in the NBA. It's just crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, 30 points in the first half. Schroeder looks incredible. Looks better than last year. Trez fits perfectly. It's just everything about them. It's. I guess when you get to the finals and it's the 2 best teams, anything can happen. Like we saw the Heat beat them twice last year in the finals, but this is a different team than that team.
That's a lot different, yeah.
More talented and deeper.
That's what the craziest part is. It's like it should be almost impossible to have the 2 best players in the league and depth not be an issue whatsoever, but it's not, That was the only red flag for the Lakers last year, was we were a little bit worried about bench scoring and that sort of thing. That's not even on our radar right now because the bench is just solid. I mean, they've got dudes like Talen Horton-Tucker, I guarantee you would be a solid player for any team in the NBA. He's not even getting minutes. Yeah. It's scary. They're so powerful.
Yep. Well, the only team right now, if there's a team that has the upside to potentially give them a run for their money, it's the most important game of the day. It's the Nets. It's got to be the Nets. They obviously this is now their 2nd game with James Harden. This was their first game was against, who'd they play last game? Who they play? It was someone not very good.
For you, Magic.
Yeah, it was the Magic. So everyone was very interested in this because they wanted to see could they defend a good team. And the answer is no, they couldn't. But it didn't matter. But it doesn't matter because even if they can't defend, you're still going to have to outscore these guys. And like I said yesterday, I think we both agreed, everyone on the planet sort of underestimated the player that this team was getting in James Harden. But also Kevin Durant's he's that good. And if Kyrie Irving comes back and fits and can play his role, this is the team that has the upside to beat the Lakers. They just from a talent standpoint. Now, there were some issues. There are some issues. They need another big. DeAndre Jordan has played well to this point since the trade in the 2 games. They need another, at least one more big. They need a little bit of depth, even though they have some decent players, but they're just not a very deep team right now. But just purely from a talent standpoint, like Joe Harris was already a top 5 shooter in the NBA and just became so much more dangerous. He took some shots in this game. They might have been the most wide open threes I've ever seen Joe Harris take. And it's just because, like, when KD's out of the game, now they're trapping James Harden, and then now Joe Harris is open. And when they're both in the game, who do you guard? It's impossible to guard everybody. And Joe Harris is just getting open looks. I mean, if you look, like KD and James Harden both went for 30 tonight, and Joe Harris still had 20, Jeff Green had 14, and DeAndre Jordan had 12. Like, their starting lineup is, and that's, again, without Kyrie, we don't know what Kyrie brings to the table. It helps the depth, obviously. We'll see what his role actually is. But if he comes back and he plays the role that he can play for this team, it's just KD just changes everything. He's the second best player in the world, and I just don't see a scenario where any team beats them if they play up to their potential. If every team plays to their potential in the East, there's no team with a higher upside than this team.
Yeah. Again, no argument there. I mean, we've talked about how any shot Kevin Durant takes is a good shot because he's just so long and so talented and such a good shooter. James Harden's not far off. Like, anything James Harden does offensively is normally what you want offensively as a coach. You want him either taking a 3, driving, getting fouled, or finding an open man. So they're on the court together. So defensively, you really don't have a prayer. So yeah, DeAndre Jordan playing 38 minutes. I mean, that's a concern. You know, like, how much does he have fatigue-wise come playoff time? That's going to be important.
They need to, they definitely need to figure that out. Like, they need depth. I don't know if it's I don't know, again, buyout market down the line, if there's a trade. But the problem with trades is who's out there that they can go dollar for dollar to get that's going to make an impact. Like we talked about, I was thinking about Marvin Bagley.
Okay.
You know, if the Kings are still looking to move him, he's a big man who can rebound, who can guard around the rim a little bit. Like, not making a ton of money, still on his rookie deal. You might, maybe him, but probably the buyout market. But yeah, I was thinking about this today. The Nets are the Nets are the favorite in the East, and the reason I say that, so like just definitively, is I was thinking back to the 2015-2016 Thunder, right? Mm-hmm. We always forget. I think we forget because that was the year that the Warriors lost 3-1 in the finals, that the Thunder lost. They were up 3-1 against the Warriors, and the Warriors came back and won 3-1. And that OKC team was KD and Russ and Serge Ibaka. The rest of that team was not very good, right? Dion Waiters, Andre Roberson, Steven Adams, whatever, like Cantor. Like, it just, there was not a lot there. And that team had a 3-1 lead on the Warriors, right? Now imagine that team with James Harden instead of Russell Westbrook and potentially Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris. Mm-hmm. Like, and Kevin Durant right now looks just as good, if not better, than he did it 4 years ago. Like, for something happened with this torn Achilles, and he is back to being the second best player on the planet. And now imagine that team with James Harden instead of Russell Westbrook. So I'm like, they should have beat the Warriors anyways. it probably wouldn't have even been a series. And also, like, again, people knock Kevin Durant for going to the Warriors, but that team doesn't win. I mean, that team won one title and lost a title. They don't win 3 titles without Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was the best player on those teams. They probably win 3 in a row if he doesn't get hurt. Like, yeah, I think because he's been out for a year, and it's still pretty early in the season, but I think we constantly, we don't want to like say definitively because it's so early in the year and teams in the East got better, and I don't want to say like 100% this team is going to the finals, but if it all goes right, I just don't see how anybody beats Kevin Durant in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I mean, tonight was a great barometer game for Bucks and Nets, but like it's a close game, right? Nets edge it out, but the Nets are going to get better just by playing together. You know what I mean? The Bucks have been playing together as a team all season long,
right?
And still couldn't handle the Nets. And maybe one of the better offensive pieces for the Nets didn't even play tonight. We'll see. But to your point, I don't see the Bucks handling the Nets in a 7-game series. I mean, Giannis would literally have to.
I just don't see anybody handling the Nets in a 7.
Well, I'm just trying to think of. I mean, the contenders would be the Bucks, the Celtics. I mean, as much as we love Brown and Tatum, I don't think they have enough firepower. The team is so deadly offensively that you'd have to play a perfect 7-game series if you're the Heat, the Celtics, the Sixers.
Well, let's put it like this: like the team, like okay, so the Bucks got beat 4-1 in the playoffs last year to the Heat, and like they got a little better. They didn't get that much better. They got better. They're definitely better than last year, but I don't know that they're that much better. By the way, last play of the game tonight, I mean, Giannis was basically all the way in the backcourt. The play was for Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Now, Giannis ran to the rim. He was wide open. Middleton missed the pass. Hard pass to see. But the point remains, like, come on, man. You can't be the best player on the planet or even be in the conversation if you're not the one that's getting the – they were only down 2.
I was going to text you, honestly, watching the highlights about how ridiculous is it that the back-to-back MVP does not have the ball in his hands.
Not even in the frame on national television. Not even in the frame down 2 for the final play of the game to get the ball. Now again, I know what they did. They drew up the play to get the attention on Middleton, and Giannis just dove to the rim. But that just shows, like, you can't trust him in any situation to have the ball in his hands, and obviously Miami exposed that last year. So, the Bucks, I just don't see how they. Let's just say Miami, for example. Well, part of the reason why Miami was so dominant against Milwaukee is because they were able to shut down one guy. They were able to shut down Giannis, and then Middleton had to beat them. You're not shutting down KD and James Harden for 7 games.
No
and the whole thing about Harden disappearing in the playoffs, he's never really played in the playoffs with KD. So it's going to hide a lot of things because KD ain't disappearing. He's just not. And then in the games where James Harden disappears, you probably get Kyrie playing pretty well. Like, they'll offset each other's disappearing acts.
Exactly.
And then you have KD, who just will do it every night.
I feel like the most recent Rocket teams in the playoffs, good defensive teams, say, okay, we'll let anybody else besides James Harden beat us, you know? That can't happen this year. You want to make sure James Harden doesn't beat you? Okay, Kevin Durant's going to go for 50. So it's deadly.
Even without Kyrie, it can't happen. And then you put Kyrie in the mix, it's just like, you know what I think? You know what I would do if I was coaching that team when Kyrie comes back? I would have, during the regular season, and maybe even in the playoffs, I would have long stretches, like to start the second quarter, where I sat Kevin Durant and Harden and just let Kyrie run the show for like the first half, like the first half of the second quarter, and depending on what's going on in the third, maybe like a stretch in the third where it's just like the Kyrie show, depending on how the game's going, just to like let him get his shots, let him get his touches. Don't make him feel like he's not the guy, but when he's really not the guy.
Yeah, we're gonna find out truly if Kyrie gives one iota about winning, because if he can't fit into this situation, he doesn't want to win. He doesn't care about winning, to me.
Well, it's going to be interesting because how do you take the ball out of James Harden's hands, and then is Kyrie going to be the 2?
That's a bad play. That's a bad coaching decision. You know,
well, but I don't think they are going to. They were talking about it on TNT. Like, Charles and Shaq were going at it because Shaq was like, Kyrie will be the point guard, and Barkley was saying, no way. Like, you don't take the ball out of Harden's hands. He's the point guard. So, I mean, we will see. Kyrie is probably more suited as a 2 anyway. Mm-hmm. So, like, skill-wise, he's a 2. I mean, I know he's one of the best ball handlers, but he's not naturally like he's not really like a setup man at all. And
I truly think he's going to get traded. And that goes back to your overreaction from last night, which I don't think is an
we'll
overreaction,
see. Like,
yeah.
I just don't know. First of all, I don't know what his value is. And I think at this point, I don't know that the Nets are going to trade him for anything less than like max value, and I don't know that any team's going to give up max value for what he brings.
What if he's just a complete and utter headache for the next month? Then you might.
But I'm just saying, like, okay, no, I don't think any contending team would give up a lot of assets to get Kyrie. And then let's say you're a young team that's trying to rebuild. Why would you give up assets to potentially try to rebuild around Kyrie Irving? He's proven that he can't be the guy.
And the reason would be because you're not that smart of a front office. Like, what if Sacramento is like, we can make Kyrie work? And
they can't. I don't think it's going to happen. I understand why he probably would need to potentially get traded. I don't see it happening because I just don't think. Again, I just don't think that the Nets will ever get the value that they would want if they wanted to trade Kyrie. I don't think they'll ever get the value that they would want.
It's going to be very interesting storyline here.
Unless he comes out and balls out for a few games and then becomes a pain in the ass. I don't know. I mean, I think worst case scenario, this team's going to the conference finals, but I think they're going to the final. It's hard to see a scenario where this team loses 7 games or loses 4 games in a series. But we'll see. It's obviously only been 2 games, but they were the favorite without James Harden, weren't they? Like either first or second favorite.
Right around there. Yeah, I mean they weren't far off if they weren't.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy. Speaking of Harden, I think I mentioned this after the first game when Houston won that first game when they traded Harden. It's going to be the honeymoon's. I don't think the honeymoon's going to last very long. They're about to find out, unfortunately for my guy out there in Houston, it is not easy to win games in the NBA without stars, without true stars. Now, Victor Oladipo played tonight, and Victor Oladipo played well. He had 30-something. But they lost to the Bulls. They gave up 125 points to the Bulls. John Wall hasn't played since the trade. Now, that is a factor.
Is that COVID? Sorry, I'm on the injury report. Is that COVID related or a nagging injury?
I think he has a knee thing or something.
It doesn't even say on here.
I don't remember what it was, but I don't think it's COVID. But either way, if you just not having him is obviously a factor. But you get 32 from Victor Oladipo and 30 from Christian Wood, you should probably beat the Bulls.
Yeah.
I think they're about to find out, like, when you don't have a true star, like a true superstar, it can get dicey when you're just trying to piece it together in the middle of a year. 2 losses, 1 to a obviously decent Spurs team, and then 1 now to a not very good Bulls team.
It's tough, man. I think they're in big trouble. Man, Christian Wood with 30 again. I'm very curious. I think we will really truly find out how good Oladipo is on this team now because I've been curious.
Well, he's going to put up numbers. He's going to get a contract.
Definitely. It just wins are going to be a big part of how I evaluate him here. I mean, it's not like he has nobody around him. You know, there's some very good players around him. This team should be at least 500 in my mind, talent-wise, don't you think? Like Christian Wood, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, John Wall. We know Cousins. I mean, there's talent.
Listen, Christian Wood is talented. The verdict is not out. I mean, he's still putting up good numbers on a bad team right now. Like he put up good numbers on a bad team in Detroit, and now he's putting up good numbers on a subpar team in Houston. Like there's a lot of guys in the NBA who can get you 30 points in a loss. Like I think the gauge for me is not Victor Oladipo or even necessarily John Wall because we know what those guys are. We've seen their careers. Christian Wood is a big thing. It is a huge thing to me because Christian Wood got paid a lot of money off of playing well for a bad team, and now he's playing really well for a team that's I think 4-8 now. Right, like that's not impressive to me. I mean, it's impressive. It's not easy to put up those numbers in the NBA, but like I said, I think there's a lot of guys who could put up those kind of numbers on losing teams. Somebody's got to put up numbers on a losing team.
This is a game they should have won, and I think the Bulls are like they're not the absolute cellar dwellers of the East. I think they're fine. I don't think they're a playoff team, but if you're the Rockets and you want to do anything this season, like this is a game you got to win.
I mean, the Bulls have won 2 in a row or whatever it is, but it was like only like 4 days ago where their head coach literally said, "We don't know how to win games." So, I mean, they may not be cellar dwellers, but they're not good.
Right.
If you get 83 points from Christian Wood, Victor Oladipo, and Eric Gordon, you should win.
Yeah, you got to win that.
They're shorthanded, obviously, without John Wall. A little. I mean, I guess John Wall's the only thing they were really missing, but like, how much is John Wall going to change? Your backcourt got 50 points. I mean, so
and tonight scoring wasn't even really the issue, and it's like they could not stop the Bulls. John Wall's not going to do much in that area.
I mean, Zach LaVine's a stud, and Kobe White only had 10 points. But again, they were shooting the lights out of the ball. So maybe that's part of it too.
7 guys in double figures. I mean,
but look at Garrett Temple made 3 threes. Markkanen had 4 threes. Arcidiacono went 3 for 4. Denzel Valentine was 3 for 6. Like they were just stroking it.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it. But was it? I didn't get to catch the entire game, but was it bad defense, or just they were just hitting shy? And
my guess would be bad defense.
But now it's 2 in a row, so we'll see if they go on a slide here.
And they do have to learn how to play. Everyone has to learn to play with Oladipo. So that's another. I mean, a guy that got 32 minutes tonight they've never played with. But they have to figure it out very soon if they're gonna be any sort of factor in the West, which it doesn't look like they are going to be.
Yeah. All right. The Grizzlies, they won their 5th game in a row.
They are tough. They are a tough-ass team, man.
They beat the Suns.
You know who I absolutely love?
Ja Morant's been back for 2 games now. So obviously they're 2-0 since he came back, but they've won 5 in a row. And go ahead, who do you love? Because I want to point something out too here.
I love Xavier Tillman as a role player. He's just solid as hell.
Everyone's on this guy's nuts all of a sudden, and he's playing really well. Don't get me wrong.
Brandon Clark.
No, Xavier Tillman.
Oh, sorry. I'm
saying a lot of people. I've been seeing people tweeting about it.
Oh, really?
I saw one guy that I used to work with who's like, just a reminder, I told everyone that Xavier Tillman should have been a lottery pick. Okay, man. He's played
I'm
a couple
talking strictly in terms of like it looks like they have a really good role player.
Yeah, no, he's good. Yeah, he's good. He has played well. But you know who's played really well for this team on this 5-game streak? Grayson Allen.
Or like Grayson Allen. Have you seen this guy? He's actually going gray. It's pretty funny. But yes, he's been excellent.
I mean, tonight he hit a huge 3 at the end of the game to solidify the game. He's been like I think he's averaging like 2 steals a game on this stretch. He had 1 tonight. He's been playing really good defense. And remember, like it was only probably a week and a half ago where I was like, I think this guy's gonna be out of the NBA. He's a shooter who can't shoot.
Yeah, that was your line. He's a shooter that can't shoot, which is
and then all of a sudden he's knocking down shots. Most importantly, gets the line 7 times, goes 6 of 7 from the line. Looks just more comfortable out there. He's been a huge factor for them off the bench.
Still don't
like at the end of the game. Like I don't know what happened if Dylan Brooks got hurt, but Dylan Brooks wasn't even playing. They had Grayson in at the end of the game.
I actually Dylan Brooks only played 22 minutes, which makes me think he.
But like he was 1 of 10 from the field. They may have just benched him. I mean,
yeah.
By the way, I mean like here's the interesting thing, and I was looking at this. So I was trying to figure out because I don't watch every Grizzlies game. What obviously they're tough. Like they're a tough team. But like they're 4th in the NBA in defensive rating. And so like it's interesting because a lot of these teams that are not good, that are playing well and winning games early in the year, are playing incredible defense. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like Cleveland, Cleveland is 2nd in the league in defensive rating. They're 6 and 7, and they're going to fall off a cliff at some point. Grizzlies can sustain it, but they can't sustain top 5 in the league.
They sustained it they sustained a solid defense last year, and they had no business being even anywhere near the playoffs last year.
The Knicks are 5th. The Mavericks are 7th. The Hawks are 8th, and the Spurs are 10th. Like all those teams.
The Hawks is the weirdest one to me. That's very strange.
To be a great team in the NBA, like great teams are in the top 10 in both. And right now there's only 2. The Lakers, who are 1st in defense and 4th in offense, and the Jazz actually are the other one. They're playing out of their minds. Because here's the thing. When you go to the top 10 in offensive rating, it's the Bucks, Clippers, Nuggets, Lakers, Nets, Wizards. It's obviously their defense is terrible. Blazers, Suns, Jazz. Like those are the teams that you expect to be. Mm-hmm. Their offenses are playing well, and their defenses will ramp up as the season goes on. A lot of these teams that are not great are just playing great defense right now, but their offenses are just rough. It's like, I guess that's how you win games during the regular season if you're not a talented team, but it's not going to be sustainable. Like Grizzlies are, because they have Ja Morant, they're good enough to compete to maybe get the 8 seed. But I just don't know that they can sustain this level of defense all year. That team, they're really well coached and they play hard, but I don't know.
Yeah, probably not this level. I think is Jaron Jackson, I think he's close. Or, no?
I don't even know. I keep forgetting to check.
So they showed him he was in this awesome suit on the sideline, clapping it up. So he's in the building every night. I think he's pretty close. Like on the injury report, it says out. Jackson was ruled out for Monday's game against the Suns, so like that means they're consistently evaluating him. He's not out for months or anything like that. If he comes back healthy,
I just wonder what to expect.
Yeah,
from him coming back off this injury,
because it was a really serious one. But I'm getting more and more confident in dudes coming back from these injuries just fine, especially after like Kevin Durant and just the stuff we've seen recently with guys bouncing back from injury pretty much unscathed. Man, I think the Grizzlies are a sleeper team to sneak in at the back end of the West. I think they're going to be the 7 or the 8 seed. I really do.
It could be.
Ja Morant is a legitimate bona fide superstar already, and then they've got some solid guys around him.
Yeah, maybe Grayson Allen is too.
Well,
you know who looked really good in this game is DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
that is I think I say this every time I watch him. He's a massive human. He's so big. Like, there's a lot of 7-footers, but he is just everything. And I interviewed him once, and I don't even think – I'm not sure why, but when I interviewed him, I don't think it clicked how big he is. Mm-hmm. But then I see him on the court. Maybe he's bigger now. Maybe he grew a little bit, but he is gigantic. He's so big.
And that's essentially what got him picked first overall. It was like, this guy is like a man amongst boys in college, like he's NBA ready. Because it's not like he was the most skilled or even close to it coming out of college. Like his insane build got him picked first overall. And there's no doubt he is a legitimate NBA player. Like, he is very, very good. I just don't know if he'll ever live up to number 1 pick status.
18 and 16.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
he's a true wild card for this team.
You love that wild card.
He's a true wild card, dude. Yeah. Devin Booker played like absolute garbage, which is probably why they lost this game. I mean, he's just not going to go 5 for 21.
They also changed their starting lineup for the first time this year. They put Cameron Johnson in for Jay Crowder. I don't know what. Maybe they were looking for like a spark. Shooting the ball.
They're on a little bit of a skid here, right? Oh, because they had all those games postponed.
Yeah. I don't know.
Suns are in a
I'm not worried about the Suns.
Neither am I.
The Suns, I think the Suns, I feel like the Suns finish top 4 no matter what.
I do too.
They're just a good team. But again, we could talk about the Western Conference all we want. No one's beating the Lakers. So it is what it is, right? I mean, unfortunately, it's shitty to have to talk about it in those terms, but it's just hard to see a scenario. By the way, Warriors down 3 in the third quarter.
I see that. I wish I kept it on. Did somebody? Oh, our boy Kelly Oubre leading the way with 19 points.
Hey now. Oh yeah. All right. Mavs lost again. They are
in trouble.
I mean.
Yeah, trouble's strong.
It's hard to say. They are. like not having these guys because of COVID is just crushing them. Like
and playing a back-to-back amidst that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, because they can't not. First of all, there's no scenario where they can play. They can't, like when Luka and Porzingis are not on the floor together, this team just falls off a cliff because, well, in this game particularly, the Raptors just doubled. If one of them was off the floor, the Raptors just doubled the other one, and these guys they're rolling out there stink.
And the only guy that doesn't totally stink, Tim Hardaway Jr. went 0 for 12.
Yeah,
so maybe he does totally stink.
That's not good. But I mean,
but you just
James Johnson, Josh Green, Wes Iwundu, and Trey Burke are the guys they're rolling out there. Like Willie Cauley-Stein is horrendous. Jalen Brunson's good, but you can't count on that.
He's very bad defensively. I've noticed Jalen Brunson is, and so is Trey Burke. Trey Burke's horrible on defense.
Trey Burke's tiny. He's so small.
So is Jalen Brunson, man. I don't even think Jalen Brunson's
short, but he's like jacked.
Yeah, he's stocky.
Trey Burke's really skinny too.
So yeah, I don't think the Mavericks are in any sort of spot right now to like properly evaluate them, just because they're so shorthanded. Porzingis is.
It's tough, and I will say this also: like, if this is what Luka like, I don't know if there's an issue here. Like, I genuinely, the one thing I don't understand is there something wrong? Is there something going on with this team? Because like after last game, he had the 35-point triple double, and then apologized for the loss, and then comes out and takes 11 shots. Like, that's not the answer.
Yeah,
the answer is not you
definitely
taking half of the amount of shots you normally take and he only had 9 assists. So it's not like he was I mean, Raptors maybe played a great game. I watched most of it. It just the Raptors did have played incredible defense. But 11 shots is not the answer. So I don't know like if there's something.
Dude, I think the fatigue, I mean, we know his body is not quite right, and it's a back-to-back. He played 38 minutes. Not that that's an excuse, you know. He should absolutely be ready to go, but we don't see games like this from Luka very often, and it's interesting that it's coming off of a back, or it's the second leg of a back-to-back.
A second leg of a back-to-back where he apologized for being too selfish.
Yeah, that was weird.
I mean, Porzingis took 14 shots, so no one really took a ton of shots. But yeah, that's my only concern. We'll see what happens when they're healthy, like when they have Richardson and who else is missing? Richardson, Dwight Powell.
Kleber.
Dorian Finney-Smith, Kleber.
Yeah,
like, when they have all those guys back, we'll see.
And Rick Carlisle's such a good coach. I'm really not too worried about the Mavericks at all.
Boucher continues to be, like, I mean, arguably the best player on the Raptors this year. 21-10 tonight. I mean, 3 more blocks. This guy's just all over the place. Like, he's playing for Siakam's contract right now.
That's a good point. Except I'm still amazed. I mentioned it last time that he's 28. I don't even see how that's possible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Siakam's fine. He's just not a max player to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say about. I think the Raptors. Every win for them is a great win because I just don't think they're going to have a ton of them this year.
Mm-hmm. And this
Boucher
one comes against
Boucher is a great story though. I mean,
yeah,
this is like truly what the Most Improved Player award should be about. A guy who's been in the league for however long he's been in the league, 28 years old, and all of a sudden he's a legit double defensive monster, you know, who can shoot the ball too. And he went 2 for 5 from 3, shooting the ball well. Like, he's going to get paid, dude. And he's going to get paid by somebody else because the Raptors tied up all their money in these other bums. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
He really did.
That's wild. Think about that. Yeah. They tied up all their money in Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and OG Anunoby, and they may lose Chris Boucher because of it. And right now, Chris Boucher is their best player. Now, Chris Boucher being your best player might be the reason why your team stinks. Mm-hmm. But still, I mean, someone's going to pay him, particularly the way the market goes right now. And I don't think it can be the Raptors.
I don't think so either. I mean, especially because it's like if you pay him, that means you're keeping this core together, and this core might struggle to make the playoffs. So do you really want to do that?
Yeah. If I was a team that was planning on like spending a lot of money next year and didn't get a chance, I would consider like throwing a first-round pick at the Raptors to try to get him. Right, like right now.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, we'll give you a lottery protected first rounder. And a piece or an expiring deal, and then try to work out a deal with him.
You're talking about like a contender, right?
What's his contract? Like, is he?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's veteran minimum, but
Yeah, but I just mean, like, does he have years left?
yeah, let me check.
No. Well, yeah. Well, next year is non-guaranteed, so I'm assuming they'll just guarantee that. So they'll have him for another year.
Gotcha.
But I would
sucks
guess.
for him,
But here's the thing: I would assume after the way he's playing this year, he's gonna say to them like, "Okay, you can guarantee me, but let's talk." Like he's gonna want an extension going into this season, or going into next season. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, good for him, man. He was on the Warriors? No. Maybe he was just an old rookie. Is that what it was?
It's possible.
I really don't know anything about this guy.
I don't either. I just know that he's very, very tall and skinny.
He's been in the league since 17, 18. Yeah, he was a rookie at 25. Or at least he didn't play a game until that year. I don't know if he was in the league before that.
Possible, yeah. Maybe he was a G Leaguer.
He was not drafted. He's only been in the league for 3 years, yeah. His debut was March 14, 2018. Fascinating.
Yeah. I think he has 2 rings. I don't know. He played 1 game for the Warriors in 2017-18. And then he played 28 games for the Raptors in their championship season. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, he was just an old college player, dude. Like he was at Oregon. He was 24 when he graduated from Oregon. So
see, this is what you get on the Morning Deuce. We figure out who Chris Boucher is out of nowhere. Love it.
Yeah. I think we may have lost all our listeners, but he leads the NBA in offensive rating right now.
Holy smokes.
According to
that is
Basketball
remarkable.
Reference.
Yeah.
He leads the NBA in true shooting percentage. He leads the NBA in win shares per 48 minutes. Is Chris Boucher the MVP?
The season ended today. Still no, because they're 5-8. So there's
They're 5-8. They've won 5 games.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for them. Wouldn't have predicted it.
No, I'm rooting hard against the Raptors. Always will be.
Oh yeah. Okay. Heat. I mean, obviously, again, it's still early enough in the year where you can't say like must win, but man, this was pretty close to a must win for this team. Even though they have the COVID stuff and Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler still didn't play, after getting blown out by the Pistons the other night, and they were down 19 in the first quarter in this game.
How does that happen? That's remarkable,
dude. The Pistons did not. Wayne Ellington, I think, had like 13 in the first quarter. Like he just went off. He had 7 threes. Jeremy Grant's a stud. Jeremy Grant's just an absolute stud. Like I don't know, we totally misread that situation. Like he is good, dude. Like he is earning every dollar. Now, they're not a good team, but he is earning every dollar. Like he is a good offense. He's just a good all around player.
I'm pretty amazed that he's sustained the scoring so far. Like he's almost at 25 points a game. I mean, I'll take the hit on that one. Completely wrong there. I'll maintain that you can't be a good team with him scoring 25 points a game, but he's been outstanding. Outstanding.
Maybe we don't know because everyone else on this team pretty much stinks.
We got to talk about Blake Griffin. Something's wrong with Blake Griffin.
I don't think he wants to be there, but I don't think he's the type of guy who will say I don't want to be there. I don't think he's not the type of player to publicly come out and like demand a trade or any of that. But I just don't think he wants to be there. I think he knows they suck. I think he's just going through the motions, getting his check.
Maybe he's having a really bad season.
I know. And all he does is shoot threes. He doesn't play. I mean, he's not playing hard. I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I saw him play in preseason. Remember? I saw him play in preseason. Like, okay, he's still good. He's still got it a little bit. And now I think he's just like, they started off, 2-9 or something? I think he's at a point now where he's just like, this team stinks.
Yeah, he's got to get his way out of there. I don't know if he can.
He makes a lot of money.
Yeah. I
think Derrick Rose will be traded because he's playing really well, and his contract is not very expensive. Mm-hmm. I don't know who. Maybe Brooklyn. Oh, speaking of Brooklyn and Detroit, how does a team that's this bad trade Bruce Brown? Like how could that guy not play for this team?
Yeah, it was a weird one. What was the return in that? Like a pick?
I think it was a 2nd round pick and Zahn and Musa, who they ended up trading or waiving. So, but I'm watching the Nets, and he's starting while Kyrie's out, obviously, and they have pieces or he's playing starter minutes or whatever. I mean, that kid's good.
I mean, I get the only reason I think they want to get Killian Hayes minutes. They don't want that guy eating his minutes.
He's out for the year.
Right, but they made the trade before that.
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't know. And they picked up DeLon Wright. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. There was a logjam, but he's better than DeLon Wright.
Yeah.
But anyways, for the Heat, Bam,
they really missed Jimmy Butler, man.
Well, two things. One, Duncan Robinson is an assassin. Like, when this game was out of hand and he knocked down a couple threes and it totally changed the momentum. Kendrick Nunn also played like probably his best game since like midway through last season. But Bam Adebayo, this is the Bam. If they get this guy every night, when Jimmy and Tyler are back, they have a shot. They do have a legit shot. Like, this was top 15 in the NBA player Bam. Offensively, mid-range game, dribble handoff game, drive to the rim, post up. He was doing literally now. Mason Plumlee was out-rebounding him for a little bit on the offensive end. Heat desperately need another big man. I'm going to start this campaign right now. JaVale McGee to the Heat.
Ooh.
I saw a report that the Cavs want to trade JaVale McGee. This guy, 3-time NBA champion, out there just playing his ass off, rebounding the shit. I'll tell you this right now. If JaVale McGee was in the game for the Heat tonight, there was one possession where I think the Pistons had like 4 or 5 offensive rebounds in a row. That shit ain't happening with JaVale McGee on the floor.
No, not a 3-time champion like JaVale McGee.
But outside of the offensive rebounding that the Pistons were doing, Bam was unstoppable. And he had another massive block in the fourth quarter. But Bam was unstoppable.
Love that. And that's not a surprise to us, right? Like, I'm not worried about the Heat at all. I mean, you make a good point about it being a must-win early on. I mean, you can't
you can't drop 2 in a row and 4 in a row. I don't care. It would have been 4 in a row.
You cannot drop 2 in a row to these Pistons. That is for sure. So that's a nice win.
Not if you have Bam. Like, if Bam was out, okay. By the way, with the rebounding thing, no Tyler Hero, and their rebounding just, again, I mean, Tyler Hero has been big for them in the rebounding department.
Yeah. I just think when they get their feet under them with the guys that are out, when they get the roster the way it should be, and and they've learned some things along the way. They learned Mo Harkless isn't very good. Even he got 30 minutes tonight. I just think once this team is,
well, they went to a zone and they were doing all kinds of gimmicky stuff because they couldn't stop Detroit in the first half.
I'm not worried about the Heat. I mean, you have your finger on the pulse a lot better than I do.
The problem is I've watched every single game.
Yeah.
And they still 18 turnovers. They lead the league in turnovers.
That is so weird. It is
Bam
so
had
weird
7 turnovers. Like, they're still very sloppy. They still do some stuff that I think teams, it's becoming predictable. Some lob plays that are leading to turnovers. But either way, the Bam that played in the second, particularly in the second half of this game, this guy with Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, this team can beat anybody. Will they beat anybody? I don't know. Not the Lakers. I mean, like, anybody in the East. Mm-hmm. Because defensively, they're going to be, when everyone's healthy, they're so tough. And then if he's playing like this on offense, he's so good. And he's only getting better. Like, he's just, the jump shot already looks way better from last year. Mm-hmm. So that was a nice game for him. It's great for the Heat, for Kendrick Nunn to have a game like this. When everyone's healthy, I don't know if he'll get minutes, but it's good for it to happen because he's been awful since really like 3/4 of the way through last year, maybe midway. Really bad.
Didn't he took a little bit while to get back in the bubble too? He didn't come back.
Yeah, I think he had COVID.
Yeah, yes, that's what it was, and then he didn't look quite right afterward. But yeah,
well, he didn't play. They, Tyler Hero became the backup point guard essentially, and then when Goran got hurt, Tyler just moved into the starting line. Like, yeah, he was awful. It was really bad. Like probably the last quarter of the year and the bubble, he was really bad. So it's good. I mean, he looked a lot more confident. And if they could get even a semblance of what he was in the first half of last year, that'd be huge for them because they really do need another scorer off the bench, not just Goran Dragic all the time, who just continues to be So good.
Timeless, ageless.
Yeah, it's crazy. I interviewed Tony Fiorentino, who has been with that organization since day one, and he agreed with me. Goran Dragic is the second best point guard in Heat history. How weird is that?
Wow. Yeah, no, that is remarkable.
If you go back, they've only been around since like the late '80s. The only other point guard that they've ever had that was even remotely close, like as a starter for this long of a time, Tim Hardaway.
Yeah. Remarkable.
It's pretty like he even said he's like Goran's gonna have his jersey in the rafters for the Heat, which is pretty crazy. But like he also like helped them weather the storm of like post LeBron, post Chris Bosh's blood clots, D Wade, like all of that stuff was going on, and Goran was like the one guy who was constantly and stayed with the team after they got him. So, I mean, he just continues to 9 of 15 from the field, 22 points, steady, coming off the bench. I got to see what his numbers are. Maybe he's a 6th Man of the Year candidate.
Could be, yeah. He's another guy, when I mentioned coming back from injuries and being totally fine. Like, he hasn't missed a beat. I mean, he had that plantar thing, but...
Yeah, his wasn't like a career-ending, potentially, type of thing. But, yeah, I mean, he was pretty messed up in the playoffs. He's averaging... he had 22 tonight. He's averaging 14.5 a game. So, still not quite Jordan Clarkson level.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. All right, a few more games to talk about before we wrap up. Lakers are up 9 towards the end of the third. Knicks get another win. And, of course, the day after we talk about Emmanuel Quickley potentially being a Rookie of the Year candidate, he plays 14 minutes. Still got 10 shots up, though.
Love it. But he played
points.
less minutes than Austin. Dude, Austin Rivers is... just give up on Austin Rivers, please. He stinks.
I mean, think about how bad this Knicks team actually is. Like, their starting lineup. Their entire starting lineup played 30-plus minutes, and they scored 91 points.
Insane. It really is
against
remarkable.
A totally decimated Orlando Magic team. Like, the Magic are a mess right now.
Jeez, they had... Oh, no. Okay, Terrence Ross gave him 19 off the bench. I was just looking at... Their scoring is, like, pathetic. Like... We got starters scoring 2.6 points.
Fournier's been out for like 11 games, 12 games now. And obviously Fultz and Isaac and all these guys. So, yeah, they're a mess. Knicks won 2 in a row. I think they're 7-8 now, right?
7-8 is correct, yeah. I mean...
Who would have thought it in a million years? 21-17 from Julius Randle.
And they held him to 84 points, and we know
Julius Randle's going to be an all-star this year. I mean, he's got to be.
I think he has to be. Right now, he has to be. His numbers are
I just think, all right, for the forward position in the East, like who? KD, Giannis,
Jason Tatum, probably.
Does Jimmy Butler, if he comes back and plays well, he counts as a forward, right?
He's right there, yeah.
Tatum, Brown, yeah, maybe he's not. I don't know.
I still think he gets onto the back. If he's averaging 23 and 11, like he's got to be an all-star.
Yeah, but you're not.
And 6.5 assists. That's the other
Sabonis.
thing. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good forwards. Sheesh.
He's not making it over any of those guys. I mean, maybe Jimmy Butler, because I don't know that Jimmy's having a great year right now. But Sabonis, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, KD, Giannis. That's five forwards right there.
Yeah, that'll be tough.
Chris Boucher.
Yeah. Tell you who's not making an all-star team this year is Ben Simmons at forward. So, was Tobias Harris an all-star? I forget. I'm just trying to think of all-star spots that would open up.
JaVale McGee.
He's not an all-star. Are you messing with me?
Listen, JaVale McGee's. I have to do.
He's an all-star on our hearts.
Listen. I have to do. I'm doing this. I got asked to do a podcast on Wednesday. And he was they I guess he like sends the guy like sent questions. I had some of the questions and one of the questions was like, who's your favorite player in the NBA right now? Really the real hard hitting, like the pressing issues of the day. And I'm probably gonna say JaVale McGee.
I mean, you're gonna have a lot of good stuff to talk about because every time we talk about him, it's awesome on here.
I love him.
It's very clear.
Currently, right now, he's my favorite player to watch. He may not be my favorite overall player, but he's in the mix for players I like watching the most right now. He is a If there's nothing, if there's not like a great game on League Pass, he's a League Pass guy that I like.
How the hell did we get on JaVale McGee here? Oh, because of All-Stars. Got it. Okay.
Because he's an All-Star.
Gotcha.
Because I plan to bring up JaVale McGee as much as possible for the rest of the season in this show. Plus, he's gonna end up on a contending team and potentially a championship. Like he may end up in Brooklyn. Like they need him.
That'd be special.
You know what I mean? Like, so good for him, man. Way to turn it around.
Does he get his 4th ring this year? Sorry to extend the JaVale McGee conversation. But
I don't think he'll end up back in LA, and I think LA is going to win again.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the difference maker between a team winning a title and not.
Whoa. Could be. Dude, it's JaVale McGee we're talking about.
It's a good point. It is look, I don't want to be the one who underestimates JaVale McGee. We would never do that on this podcast.
No.
All right, last two other than the Laker game. The Hawks beat the T-Wolves, but Trae Young's still not good, just not playing good. He took 8 shots.
Weird. Very weird.
He got to the line 13 times, but he still only had 20 points, 13 assists. But he is having a bad year, man. And it's not getting – it's weird, man. People like Trae Young. Like, people like – it's like they protect Trae Young. Because why is it not getting more national attention that this guy that everyone's in love with is having a horrible, horrible year?
It's weird because he's had already in such a short amount of time this up and down career in the sense that rookie year it looked like the Hawks, like with this Doncic Trae Young trade, it looked like it was the worst trade ever after his rookie year. Then he has this monster second year, and it's like, maybe that trade wasn't so bad. Now it's like
people saying it worked out good for both sides.
No. You missed out on a generational talent. If you're the Hawks, so yeah, maybe it's going to swing back the other way. I mean, their careers are always going to be tied together. Luka Doncic right now is trending towards Hall of Fame status. So like Trae Young, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the guy, but he's just not even in the same ballpark in terms of like caliber of player.
And also again, like this game, they get this win. We know that the Timberwolves without Cat are just a horrendous basketball
Completely
team.
overmatched, yeah.
And they held them to 97 points. It's not the offense. It's still their defense that's playing.
Is winning them games, yeah.
Is winning them some games. Mm-hmm. But their offense has been horrible this year, and a big part of that is Trae Young he's playing terrible, and he had 5 fouls. I mean, 6 turnovers. It's just like this has to become a thing.
Yeah,
like it has to become. Well, like the more I was thinking about it more after the show yesterday because I did say like Lloyd Pierce would be on the hot seat, but man, like if you're that organization, I know like that's just how it works in professional sports that someone's got to fall on the sword, but you have to look at Trae Young. Like I don't care if the coach is not, the offense doesn't work or they're not. He's playing really bad. Like really, he's
super inefficient. Yeah,
horrible year. So. I just don't know how it gets fixed, how this team gets fixed if he can't figure it out or if teams have figured him out, you know? Mm-hmm. They're just like, hey, we're not going to let him ever get into the paint. We're just going to make him continue to take 30-foot threes, you know?
You'll live with that every day of the week.
Yeah. But people keep defending him, but I don't know, man. I don't know how long you can shoot 35% from the field and 28% from 3 and have people defend you.
Yeah, well, it's going to become impossible to defend if the Hawks fall out of like any sort of playoff contention, you know, which they're trending towards. I just don't want to hear, you know, I don't care if his scoring goes up. He's averaging under 24 a game right now. Like if this team misses the playoffs, you can't really defend him. He's not good. In the East, if, you know. Mm-hmm. I do still think the Hawks make the playoffs, but it's not looking good.
Yeah. Capella's playing great for them, and DeAndre Hunter's playing great for them too.
He's really good. I like him a lot.
I didn't understand it, but it's weird because I guess that's just like how it is with Virginia, right? Like every time I see a player play at Virginia and I see them get drafted in the first round, I'm like, these guys aren't gonna this kid's not gonna be good. So at Brogdon, I didn't understand it, and Brogdon's a fucking absolute stud.
Yeah.
Joe Harris came out of nowhere. I don't even think he got drafted though. Or if he was, it was late second. And then DeAndre Hunter, when I saw him in college, I was like, this kid's not going to translate as a 3 in the NBA. It doesn't even make sense. And I mean, he looks really good, and he is locked down on defense.
Yeah.
And now if he's shooting he's shooting well from 3. Like he's a very good player. It's interesting too because like we know like the value in the NBA is wing players, and if he becomes anything like an all-star level wing player, he might be the guy for that team.
And you'll take it. I do think we're on to something with Trae Young trending drastically in the wrong direction, but we got to talk about John Collins too because he's having a bad season. He's just, I mean, they're two guys who are like, this is your cornerstones for the Hawks to be very good very soon, and they're both having bad years, man. 15 and a half for John Collins when I think, what did he average last year, 20 and 10? Something like that?
Well, yeah, and I think the more these two continue to struggle, the more you have to look back at that report that came out that they got into an argument in the meeting. And is that impacting them? Now, that being said, John Collins had 4 blocks tonight, and defense is what's carrying this team to wins. One thing we know is that John Collins is not a negative defender. He's not known as like an incredible defender, but we know Trae Young is a negative defender.
Yep,
he's a bad defensive player. So if John Collins is struggling offensively, you can probably weather the storm because he's not a complete negative on the floor for you. If Trae Young is struggling offensively like he's struggling this year, then he is a complete negative for you because he is an absolute negative on the defensive end. So it becomes a thing of like, do you just play Rondo more? He only played 7.5 minutes. You play Rondo more and just let him distribute and set people up. Like obviously you're not going to bench Trae Young.
I was going to say that would take serious balls from Lloyd Pierce to cut Trae Young's minutes for Rajon Rondo. But if you want to win some more games, that's where you start doing.
Yeah, because this game doesn't even count, really.
No, the Timberwolves. They're completely overmatched without Karl Anthony Towns.
It's weird too. Like they have some talented players. It's shocking how bad they are without Cat. And I know Cat's a great player, but it's not like in the past they've been a great team with him. But they are just they're a bottom dwelling, like one of the worst teams in the NBA without him.
They're just so young, man. Like look at these minutes going to guys under 23 years old.
Yeah, but D'Angelo Russell did play really well, but the rest of the team, D'Lo, 31. Efficient, too, like 6 of 13 from 3.
Yeah. But he's a good player. That's why this team, like, it just sucks.
What am I missing here? Like, who are they missing? They're not missing anyone other than Cat, right?
I don't think so. I can check their injury report. They're just super young, and they're missing Ricky Rubio. But it's not like that's like...
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, they are really young. And it's a weird place too, though. Like for that team, right? They're young. Cat's been around for a little bit. He's still pretty young, but he's still been around for a little bit, and so is D'Lo. Like they are young, but they have guys that should make them a little more competitive than they are.
Yeah.
And just falling off a cliff the way they do without Cat is pretty concerning. All right, last one, other than the Lakers, which has about 7 minutes left, is the Spurs just keep winning games.
8-6. I still believe they will go 36-36 this year. I've said that multiple times.
How about DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, Patty Mills, and Rudy Gay all getting 20 points? It's just
they can still do it. I mean, yeah, why not? This is just good players playing good basketball. Not going to blow anybody away.
But this is another one where they're 10th in the league in defensive rating right now. They're winning games with defense. Eventually, it won't be enough because they're not a good offensive team.
Let me check their schedule too. Their schedules. They played the Lakers a couple times. They played the Timberwolves twice, the Thunder, the Rockets twice. So maybe
and no C.J. McCollum in this game. Nurkic is out for a while with the wrist thing. Now C.J. McCollum.
Yeah. So I'm reading this comment here. From Calvin. Oh, our boy Calvin. We remember Calvin. Forgive me, I'm a Suns fan, but doesn't the Bucks have a winning record? My Suns fell out of sync with COVID restrictions. Seems. All right, Calvin, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, the Bucks have a winning record. The Bucks are very good.
And the Bucks did not play the Suns, so okay. Move on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Calvin, get some sleep, my dude.
Yeah. It's 12-17 on the East Coast. We're about to wrap this thing up. Although the Lakers, like I said. Anyways, just to wrap up the Spurs, they beat the Blazers without McCollum, who's having one of the better years of his career. up until whatever's wrong with him. And by the way, McCollum tweeted out tonight during or after the Nets game, basically saying like everyone just slept on Harden and Kevin Durant only misses shots because of him. No one else can stop him but himself or something like that.
Wow.
And you know what? He's 100% right.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Blazers without Nurkic and McCollum, I mean, what are you going to do? Spurs 36-36. Is that a playoff team in the West?
I don't think it is, but I'm not sure.
Right now the Warriors are 6-6, and they are the 8th seed.
And they got off to that horrible start without Draymond, but I think the Warriors are going to be above 500. I do. We know the Mavericks are going to be Mavericks and Nuggets are going to turn it around. So, I mean, there's some competition there.
Just not to steal your catchphrase, but Dallas and Denver are wild cards.
Absolutely, because wild card, Porzingis, wild card, and then Jamal Murray. That may have actually been who we were talking. That may have been the origin of wild card the other day. Jamal Murray just being this player where he can go for 35 or 15.
I think it was Kyrie.
Might have been, but yes. But
But
those two teams, I mean, they're playoff teams for sure.
they
right?
should be.
Yeah, I'd be stunned if either of those teams didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I mean, sure, right. But we also don't know when the season's going to end. The season might be over next week. Because,
That's bleak.
Because I guess we could wrap with the Wizards have 7 players that have COVID, and now a staff member. I guess my thing with the Wizards is just, they have 7 players with COVID. They haven't practiced in I think 2 weeks now. They're not going to play they can't possibly play anytime soon. The Woj tweeted they're hoping to practice on Wednesday.
Man.
How long can you go postponing games, not practicing, and then just throw a team out on the floor? Like that, then it gets to a point where it's not healthy. Like you're risking their safety by throwing them into the game. You know what I'm saying? Like throwing them into a game and potentially getting hurt because they haven't played in 2 weeks. Yeah. In the middle of an NBA season.
I don't know if that's on the.
Hey, Calvin, no worries, bro.
Yeah, Calvin, don't apologize, man. You're good. I just don't know if that would be on the NBA because they're professional athletes. They should be working out on their own. I know playing NBA basketball is not the same as running on a treadmill or getting a run, but I just don't know if. I don't know if the NBA would be putting them in jeopardy by asking to be like, you got to go play, even though you haven't practiced in 2 weeks. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think they absolutely are putting guys in jeopardy. I mean, part of the concern that that teams were having with the short turnaround was not having enough time to ramp up for the season, shorter preseason, not having enough time, soft tissue injuries. They're all over the place. The league is riddled with injuries right now.
Yeah.
If you're telling a team, play 5 games, sit out for 2 weeks, maybe longer, then you can't practice because you can't come to your practice facility because of COVID. But then once everyone's negative, all right, now you got to go play.
It's tough. Do you think they would do that? I mean, I think they would.
What are they going to do? Like,
You're
they don't
right.
have a
I'm saying I
choice.
think they would do it. Yeah.
I don't think there's a choice. It's just it doesn't it get to a point with a team like the Wizards, like, I don't know, like, does it ever get to a point where it's like this team's just out?
That's what I'm wondering if it's trending towards, and I don't know how long into the season they'd have to go till they just start eliminating some teams, or just be like I don't even know if you could do that. But with the second half of the schedule open-ended, if this gets really, really bad, I don't know if it's possible to just be like, all right, we're rolling with the top 16 teams.
I'll say this: if it was later in the year and this shit happened, like what's happening with the Wizards right now, I would consider. I mean, who am I? But I would consider just kicking them out. I mean, or just ending their season because they have clearly caused a bunch of other teams to have these COVID issues, and now they have 7 positive players.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man. Like, obviously, we don't know who got it and how. It could be one guy gave it to a bunch of guys, and then those guys gave it to the rest of the league. but it isn't. There's no coincidence anymore. Like it all sort of started with the Wizards.
Right.
And if it was later in the year, you'd have to consider like, fuck, man, if these guys can't get their shit together, then maybe they just shouldn't be around for this year.
It is super. It's punitive for like the most contagious virus we've ever seen. So it wouldn't go over well for sure if you're like the Wizards owner, I guess. I don't know, but if it's for the sake of the rest of the league, I'm with it.
I mean, it's not going to happen.
Probably.
Well, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen right now. Yeah, but
it's not going to
if we're 50 games in, I could see it maybe happening. Especially definitely if a team's like mathematically eliminated. You know,
which would be them. I mean, before this even happened, they were the worst team in the NBA.
Yeah.
One thing that is helping them, maybe helping them, maybe not, is before this all went down, Russ was hurt, and they didn't know when he was going to be back. So maybe he'll be healthy by the end of all this.
Yeah, well, 2 of their 3 wins were without him, so
that's a good point. All right, well, I think that's it for tonight. There's still
looks like the Lakers are going to take this. But
yeah, there's still 4.5 minutes left, but yeah, they're going to win. Tomorrow night, it's got to be a smaller slate tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, it has to be with all these games. Oh, two gamer tomorrow.
It's 2 games, and they're both at 9.
Interesting.
That's weird.
It's good for us.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Actually, no. We have to wait till these are over, probably.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about? We'll figure something. I'm sure there'll be something to talk about. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night, probably around 11-ish when these games end. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hey, Calvin, thanks for watching. Hey, Twitch person who commented, don't watch us anymore.
Yeah, not good.
All right, later.
Later.
See you tomorrow.